Hello, and welcome.
Stella the This Are Johnny Domino podcast.
Why once the two, the Jubilees, and David Lance.
But we would not think of anything to do.
Please,
What?
I believe so. Right.
Zazuza.
Welcome to the This Are Johnny Domino podcast. Feels strange saying it again because we said it quite clearly at the start. That was our tribute to the late, great David Lynch.
It's a bit late. All the other podcasts have done it like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But there you go. That's how we roll.
They don't have proper jobs.
Yeah, and I really did enjoy your altered intro there, Steve.
Thank you very
It's
much.
very nice. Very nice. You did a good job on that.
Yeah.
I don't really understand how you did it, but it's very good.
I just re-recorded it.
Wow.
It wasn't a remix.
Wow.
It was a re-dub or something.
It was beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
But yeah, David Lynch, possibly the greatest living artist that we had, is gone. And his work, it was like the antithesis, really, to the 12-second attention span, doing it for likes kind of vibe that we are living in at the moment. And, it's sad. It is
sad. The thing is, I mean, lots of people have written their tributes and done their tributes and all that kind of stuff. But the only thing I want to say is the fact that once you start getting into David Lynch, the world looks different. And there's not many people who you can kind of say that about. You know, you start thinking things look a bit weird or sinister. It might be a changing traffic light. And all of a sudden that takes on this kind of very sinister overtone. Or, if people just doing weird dances in high schools for no apparent reason.
I go through days which I wake up in a bit of a David Lynch kind of mood and everything seems to be that way. It does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
But it's a bit sad that we're not going to see any more of his stuff. And all the stuff that was on the internet, all of his little speeches of his philosophy of life and all that was all great. And, he just seemed like a great guy. And he had good hair.
Great hair.
Do you know what I mean? He had great hair for an old guy with great hair. Let's just praise that for a moment.
I think I was influenced by David Lynch before I'd even seen a David Lynch film because I remember seeing the Eraserhead T-shirt, and I had my hair like that. I had my hair like Jack Nance in Eraserhead.
You did. I still want you to get your hair back like that, but you keep resisting. I think you could grow it high again, Steve.
Man, I'm tall enough.
Do it.
I'm tall enough.
But come on. It was a good look.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, it was like either Eraserhead or the guy from Third Base, whose name I can't remember.
Prime Minister Pete Nice.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
For the remainder of this short conversation about Def Jam Records signings of the late 80s, early 90s Third Base, please replace the words Prime Minister Pete Nice with MC Search. That's MC Search, not Prime Minister Pete Nice.
You were kind of going in that vibe as well.
Prime Minister Pete Nice, he is the subject of the Beastie Boys song Professor Booty.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because he auditioned to join the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
but he was too busy dancing with his baggy pants. So there's all these lines about dancing around just like you, Janet Jackson. And I think by the time they recorded that song, Third Base, sorry, this is tangent time. Third Base had released the album, the Cactus album, and there's a song called Sons of Third Base, which is talking about how much they hate the Beastie Boys. So
there was a bit of a war, a rap war going on.
Low key beef.
Oh, between the sort of there was a white boy rap band.
The white guys we just needed. It was probably a couple of years before or after Vanilla Ice?
Because we just needed him to get involved, didn't we? Really.
Then it would all have kicked off.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Come on. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
David Lynch. We're going to do what we normally do, and we're going to listen to some of our stuff. But the first song that we've chosen today has possibly, I think, a bit of a Lynchian vibe, don't you think?
And we've mentioned in the past, one of the things we did a lot on our recordings, we had a bit of a thing for the vibraphone sound, the echoing vibraphone sound, usually from the Casio CZ3000. Other keyboards are available. And this is...
Thankfully.
Thank God for that, because it was all right.
Not that good.
Yeah, it did us proud. Yeah, the vibraphone sound was in heavy rotation around Domino Towers, and we've talked about it on a lot of previous episodes. Insert medley of Johnny Domino songs with vibraphone.
What, have you made a medley?
Not yet.
Right, I'm going to imagine a medley. Hold on. Wow. That was vibey.
Wow, Bob. Wow.
That was vibey.
And I was trying desperately to think of if there were any more that we hadn't spoken about. And I remembered there's one from Johnny Domino's third album, the album called The First 100 Years, which of all of our seldom heard albums is the most seldom heard or the least heard.
Possibly because it's possibly the most miserable album we did, I think.
But I suppose some people think that a lot of them are quite miserable. But
anyway.
we lent into it.
Yeah,
we lent into it.
Okay, but I think this is the most miserable album. And this is a track that I think is a little bit Lynchian. It's fairly stripped down. It's called It's Not My Night. And it's kind of got a slightly mellow sound, but it's also a bit like on edge. So in that way, I think that's quite Lynchian, isn't it, if you think about it? And the keyboards obviously are a bit vibraphony. I think, and see what you think, listeners, I think this song would be amazing if Julie Cruz was singing it.
Wow.
Rather than a sort of grumpy art technician who doesn't really have the pipes. But suspend your disbelief. You are, proven to be people with a good imagination because you listen to this podcast. So see what you think.
Imagine it playing at the Roadhouse. I don't think it's you singing on it. Isn't it Jim?
I think it's me.
It's not my night, this is your night, and I can't lie.
That's both of us.
Yeah, I know, but Jim's doing the lead.
Inside and the outside, and I can't hide. It's not my night, this is your night, and I can't lie. Got my inside on the outside, and I can't hide. It's not my night, this is your night, and I can't lie. Got my inside on the outside, and I can't hide.
Can I just say something?
Of course, that was. But no, you can't. Of course, that was the big J.C. Jim Convery singing on that. But I do feel he was inhabiting a grumpy art technician in his performance there.
In a way, it's very similar to the film Lost Highway, in that there are two actors playing the same character.
Exactly. That's
who's the dreamer? Who's the dream?
Yeah, indeed.
Maybe we're stretching this a little bit too far.
No, but it is singing lyrics that I wrote, and he does a great job of it.
Yeah,
I like that. I thought that was good. It's a long time since I've listened to that, Steve.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to say that when you wouldn't let me speak is I wanted to point out the fact that I think I'm playing the vibraphone sound, and you're obviously standing next to me, because anytime you got anywhere near a keyboard, you used to do the Latino piano house thing. So at the end, when it goes bum bum ching, bum bum pa ching ching, that's you.
Yeah,
that's you.
That's it. That's my signature move.
It's your signature move on the keyboard.
It still is.
And that's why I think I pressed the modulation to make you stop. I think most of the noises, I've just been doing a little bit of mid-recording research with Mark Elston of the Johnny Domino band. Hi there, Mark. Remember, Mark had this like a little synth without a keyboard that was designed for drummers, where you could hit it, and we used to just beat the crap out of it. And I asked him what it was. Yeah, it's called a Coron DS7. He said, I sold it along with other stuff when I panicked about all that gear, a small house, and a second baby on the way. So yes, when the second kid was on the way, it all went.
He had to get rid of his Coron.
The Coron DS7.
Interesting bit of kit, wasn't it?
It was just mad. It was like uncontrollable, but it was kind of fun. I think it was all played on that. Probably Elston will completely contradict me and say it was all on his Korg MS-10, I think it was.
Yeah. I remember we practiced up those songs quite a lot.
I've got mini discs full of us playing that in my old bedroom, like week in, week out. I'm not entirely sure who's playing bass on it.
I don't know. Here's an interesting thing, observation. Yeah. We practiced those songs up like crazy for months and months. And we never ever played that live, did we?
Never.
We never ever even attempted to play that live. And it would have been quite good, I think. But there you go.
Yeah. At the time that we were practicing those songs, I think there was a 2-year period when we did a gig a year, and that was it.
We could have played that song at one of them.
You'd have thought so, but as we tended to do, we kind of went, right, that's done. Next.
I think people do that, but maybe we shouldn't have.
No.
Anyway, it's a song about the complexity of human relationships.
Mm.
It's not exactly Dostoevsky, but I think it's about combative relations around a restaurant table or a pub. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you go out for a bit of a night out and there's a bit of a subtext to what's going on. Or is that just me?
No, sorry, you're intriguing me now.
Yeah.
I want to know what that's about.
Yeah, it's not about anything in specific, but it's about that kind of thing, where you go out and it's everybody on the surface, everything's like, all right, but there's a subtext going on underneath it.
And there's a cockfight going on.
There's that kind of vibe.
Mm.
I keep saying the word vibe today. Next time I say the word vibe, you need to put some sort of alarm bell on or bleep it like you did last episode. That was really good, the bleeping. I like
You like the bleeping, didn't you?
Another thing we were talking about last episode was an engagement no kikai about product placement. Writing a song which is blatantly about a product or a service that you endorse. And we floated the idea that it would be cool to, write some songs. We've mentioned like Costa, or I'm a big fan of Ribena, as I keep saying.
Yeah. They still aren't calling, are they, though?
It's all about accessing that sweet, sweet marketing dollar, which, why not? So we're working at this very moment, well, not this very moment, but at the moment, we are working on our own exciting product placement song that hopefully we might premiere next episode. But, if it would be cool if someone else maybe picked up the guitar and had a go. Think about something that you use on perhaps a day-to-day basis that is worthy of a song. Yeah, so grab your instruments, Dad.
Yes, grab your instruments, Dad.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about the Johnny Domino podcast, but I gave it a chance, and now I think I love it.
I've thought of another opportunity de participation de audencia. I've got that one wrong, actually. Anyway, forget that.
Really?
I'm going to stop doing that.
Really?
I
enjoy it.
The Japanese one went really well. But yeah, okay. Anyway, another engagement opportunity. We're going to need a jingle for a new feature on the podcast. I haven't told you about this, Steve. But
okay, good.
But you'll know where I'm going with it. So we need a jingle for the feature called On the Derby Scene. And I'm imagining a tune similar to Cliff Richard's in the country. You're gonna find me, that one, right?
Yeah.
A bit of a minor verse into a major chorus, and probably someone called something like Mark or Ian might do quite a good job of it, I think. But do you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
A strummy song on the Derby Scene. I reckon someone could do it. Anyway, that's going to be a new feature on the Derby Scene. I think the next song that we're going to play could actually be one of those songs, actually. It kind of relates to that, doesn't it, Steve? Doesn't it, Steve? Hey.
I don't know. Are we going for the same song?
What song are you going for?
I thought we were going for Jane and John.
On the Derby Scene. Who sings it?
Mark Hibbert, who lives in London and was from Leicester.
But he was on the Derby Scene.
Well, yes, okay. that's tenuous. He did gigs in Derby.
That's what I mean.
On the scene. On the live music scene. Okay.
He's still on the Derby Scene, man.
Yeah.
In my head.
Okay. Anyway. On the previous episode, we talked about a song that you said was boingy.
We did. A boingy song. We like boingy songs. Some people have said there are lots of boingy songs, apparently. But Mark Hibbert has pointed out one that he recorded. And it's very boingy, isn't it?
It is. And this is from an act called Jane and John. And that was the band that Mark and his other half started during lockdown. And the boinginess, most of it derives from the fact that the sound of tennis balls are used as percussion.
Boing, boing. Today was a good day. Boing, boing. The day before was a bad day. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. I had to work late, but I got the job done. The shop was out of beer, but the bread was 2 for 1. I lost my umbrella, but it didn't rain. What with one thing and another, it all makes me want to say, boing, boing. Today was a good day. Boing, boing. The day before was a bad day. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. I like all my colleagues, except for the boss. My neighbours are nice, the landlord's not. The water's flowing, but it isn't hot. But with one thing and another, the impression I've got is boing, boing. Today was a good day. Boing, boing. The day before was a bad day. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. You cannot be serious. Yesterday you forgot how to play. But now you're back and it's game, set and match. And you're giving a speech that says boing, boing. Today was a good day. Boing, boing. The day before was a bad day. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. If today was all a bit too much, tomorrow could turn out great. And if it's all going really well, do your best to appreciate today and say, today was a good day. The day before was a bad day. The ups and downs of life. Boing, boing. Today was a good day. Boing, boing. The day before was a bad day. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. Boing, boing. Boing, boing. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. Boing, boing. Boing, boing. Boing, boing. The ups and downs of life. Boing, boing.
What do you think about that, Steve?
I find that increasingly utterly charming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Sure.
Really enjoyed listening to it. Again, I listened to it earlier today, and I listened to it just then, and I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was a comically touching reflection on the nature of our everyday well-being, prompted by the experience of living through lockdown. I enjoyed it very much, and I liked the sound effect of the boinging, but I don't think he needed it really. I think just the idea of the boing boing was cool. And, you know, I'm going to get philosophical here. A gentle boing boing up and down is literally the best we can hope for our the state of our mental well-being, isn't it, Steve, really? You know,
Can I just say, this is a family podcast.
yeah.
I don't know where you're going with this boing boing up and down.
Well, I just mean like, you know, our mood. You know, our moods
Yes.
and our inner feeling. You know, a gentle
Ever-changing
boing
moods.
boing is good, isn't it, really?
That's all you can
Yeah,
hope for.
sustained sunshine and rainbows is not realistic. And we don't really want to have like crashing lows followed by stratospheric highs, you know. Boing boing is perhaps what we should all be aiming for, really.
It's like a wibbling around the centre line.
Yeah. But yeah, I did enjoy that a lot. And my feelings about the song itself changed, Steve. I like yours, actually, as I listened to it a few times. When I first listened to it, I thought it was really a twee abomination. But on reflection, I feel it sums up the entirety of my being in not just 3 minutes.
And you do like a bit of the old Lawrence go-kart Mozart
Man, I really do.
thing, don't you?
I really do.
And there's a bit of that about it.
Do you know why I'm liking that even more? Because you bought me a book for Christmas, which is incredibly good. So yeah, the book's called Street Level Superstar, A Year with Lawrence by Will Hodgkinson. And it's about Lawrence from Felt and Go-Kart Mozart and all that. I mean, there was a film a few years ago which came out that was like a documentary about him that was pretty good. I quite liked it. But this book, I think, is much better, actually. And you get far more of a taste of what kind of guy he is and what perhaps motivates him. And he's a very intriguing character. And since I've been reading the book, which I really do appreciate you buying me, it was a great present. It's signed copy as well. Amazing. Since reading it, I've been listening to quite a lot of Felt and realised how much I like them. I didn't really realise how much I like Felt. I really like them. And some of Lawrence's new stuff is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
Dark, very dark, a lot of it. But yeah, really good. Really good. So yeah, thank you for introducing me to that book, and I'd recommend that to anyone. Okay. But yeah, MJ Hibbert, going back to that song, it's really nice. I do like listening to other people's stuff on this podcast. And I really enjoyed I like hearing stuff that's different, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we would have, I don't know, would we have recorded that? I don't think we would have written that, but maybe in a Jimmy Dorito kind of mood we might have done. Something a bit like that. But I don't think we would have delivered it with anything as much aplomb as they do, as Jane and John do. And yeah, I really liked her voice as well. It reminded me, and I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but it sounded like a kind of a teenage girl from the 1970s singing. I thought that's what she sounded like. It's from some sort of pop band.
Oh, hang on, there's a great song. Hang on, a song called Terry by Twinkle.
Yeah, that kind of. I nearly said vibe again, but yes, that kind of thing.
I do like the fact that we mentioned boingy songs, and one of the people who listens to the podcast says, "I've got a boingy song," and sends it. That's the kind of thing that I like. We mentioned
that's the kind of thing I like.
Yeah, we just talk about something completely random, a boingy song. Oh, I've got one of those. Bang! Beautiful. Here you go.
Brilliant. MJ Hibbert, Mark Hibbert, Dr. Hibbert. I just got to mention as well, another good thing that you could get into from listening to this podcast. He's doing a podcast himself called the Funny Comics Fan Club. And I think it's really fun, actually. It's fairly niche, you know, pot kettle situation there.
Yeah.
But it is two middle-aged men, but they are reading through an old comic, like a funny comic, like the Beano or the Dandy. And I really enjoyed it. He does like to keep going on about how he's a doctor a lot. But his friend John Dredge is a very good foil to him, and they work really well together. But I really liked it. The Dandy episode is great, and you rediscover how shit the Dandy was.
Yeah.
Because, as they do. I actually had the revelation when they were talking about a plug comic in a recent episode. From the description, I realised that I'd actually read that comic 50 years ago. It was a Proustian moment there. I could read it, you know. But yeah, they've wisely chosen a subject for the podcast that actually has a small but actual audience, unlike insert jingle.
It's time for the This Are Johnny Domino podcast, time for some very obscure music. Giles and Steve will probably argue about something pointless, so yeah.
Which is why they've appeared in the Guardian newspaper as the podcast of the week at least twice, I think.
Yeah, well, he could always give us a bit of a shout out, couldn't he? You know, yeah. I mean, it's not really the thing, but you know, it would be good if he did. They do include adverts, but they're like joke adverts because they read adverts from old comics.
Or maybe we could submit a joke advert for this podcast,
about which is comic related. Yeah. But very good. But yeah, I think we should have titles like "He's a Doctor." What title are you going to have?
Can you remember we did one gig where we dressed up in office wear? Can you remember this? We did one gig.
Yeah. Well, what title? Yeah, we had little badges, right? Yeah. What title did you have?
I was project manager.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think
I was. Do you know what I was? You know what? As I am always, and I always shall be.
Yeah.
I was the president of Madagascar.
I don't think you were on your badge. You had a badge. We all had badges and sort of those little
Well, I haven't got
clip-on things. What did yours say? Yours was something. It was not enough. It was something like
Podcast Gold. Podcast Gold.
Okay,
I
yeah,
remember what we wrote on a badge.
yeah, and we bought really cheap office wear short sleeve white shirts, and they were so cheap and they were insanely hot. And
Yeah, we only did that one gig.
Yeah, that was good. They were gone. They were gone out the window.
Too hot. Yeah, that was the end of our branding.
We were too hot.
Our costuming.
Too hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on to a different song? The last song we're talking about today.
Shall we?
Yes.
Yeah, so this one is by the Johnny Domino Band. Most of the stuff that we talk about was from the second millennium, but this is actually at the early days of the third millennium, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, quite a lot of the stuff we talk about is from the early days of the third millennium.
Yeah.
But this recording is probably from, God, it's a rehearsal room recording.
Yeah.
And it was when we managed to persuade somebody to drum with us. And that was the Jeff Bott 3000.
Yeah.
And it's a song that we'd never got a chance to record it properly. So we've got a couple of rehearsal recordings of this one on mini disc. I used to love my mini disc recorder. And I used to have a little rabbit ear microphone. So it had like two little things that you point it in different directions. So it's almost a stereo recording.
Yeah. But it is rather lo-fi. We've got to warn people, I guess. It is quite a lo-fi recording. Sometimes we do treat you to things that actually sound relatively professional. But yeah, this is quite rough. But, you know, have a listen to it. You know, you might like it. It was a song that we know. It's like one of those situations where you got to imagine what it could have been like if we'd actually recorded it properly. And challenge, see if you can figure out what Jim's singing about. He's singing something about being alive, I think.
Is that the one word you can pick out?
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
He's not the sort of person who hangs on to things, I don't think. So I don't imagine he's got the lyrics. But we'll see. I'll ask him. But yeah.
Sterling work from the Jeff Bot there on that song. It's just a real shame we never recorded it properly.
Yeah, but it was good. And I quite like listening to it, actually. In terms of the song, I think we were going somewhere kind of interesting. It's got a bit of a summer loving bass line, which
that's a bit weird.
Which is a bit weird, but and that's all. I thought it had something going on there. I quite liked it. It would have worked live, that one.
Oh, it did. It did. We played it live quite a few. I remember the first time we played it live. There was a weird bar in Derby that was on the corner, and it was like being in a glass bowl, like a goldfish bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, people.
Oh,
on the
I
street
remember.
would kind of
Yeah,
walk past.
I remember.
Yeah.
We played it there.
What was it called? Bar Vida or something?
Yeah, that was it.
Something. It was called something like that. It was right on the corner.
I think that was the gig that I sold my bass amp.
Was it?
Yeah, I sold my bass amp at that gig. I don't know.
Rather than bring it home.
Rather than bring it home, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Skills.
On the stage. I think I held an auction at the end of the gig and sold
It's
the
a good
bass
amp.
Yeah, it was a pretty.
It was a good
It
amp.
was too big though. It was like a keyboard
Oh,
amp
man.
type thing, and
God, it was insane, that amp. It was so heavy.
It's the Johnny Domino podcast. Give it a chance.
Though I can't really hear the lyrics on it, I think that song, it reminds me of an obsession that we had at the time. I think we still perhaps do have an obsession with the band The Meat Puppets. Well, three of us really liked The Meat Puppets, and we were listening to a lot of The Meat Puppets at the time when we wrote that song. And I think it's got a little bit of I nearly said it, it has got a little bit of a similar taste to some of the later Meat Puppets albums, I think, where they did tend to have choruses where they repeat a word over and over again.
Yeah, see, I've just clicked onto my music files and looking on the third album, Up on the Sun, and track 3 is called Away.
Away, that was the one. That was perhaps one of them, yeah.
So it's quite similar.
Away.
In a lot of ways. Yeah, that one.
It goes away, doesn't it? Yeah.
As opposed to
alive. Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Meat Puppets are great. I mean, they're a bit of an acquired taste, obviously, but we love them, don't we, Steve? We love the Meat Puppets.
We do still like them a lot.
What do you love about the Meat Puppets, Steve?
What do I love about the Meat Puppets? What I love about the Meat Puppets is the fact that their first 3 albums, they go from this kind of insane hardcore, which sounds like, I think I used to call it rabid glove puppets ripping apart a small stuffed animal.
Yeah. Never has a band had such an appropriate name, I think, as well.
Meat Puppets,
Absolutely. They sound like Meat Puppets.
So they go from that, and then they go into sort of like, it's druggy, not quite country. I mean, the first album they recorded in 3 days, and they were all just tripping for 3 days. And then the second album...
Don't do drugs, kids.
No, not at all. But yeah, sort of what they used to call cowpunk.
Yeah.
It's kind of a punky, rough around the edges version of country, but it's not really country music. And then it goes to Up on the Sun, really beautiful and clear sounding, rippling psychedelia type thing.
But still with someone who sounds a little bit like a Muppet.
Yeah. But I kind of wish they'd stopped at that point, because I think I went a little bit further into the studio albums after that point. They did one album and he was playing a synth guitar, like a Roland synthesizer guitar. So it hasn't got actual strings and it plugs into a tone generator. I think that's Mirage. He's using that sort of guitar.
He's
so
saying to avoid
like
that
horrible one. But the thing is, I know Jim really liked that album. He really rated that album, but I tried it and I think I ended up just having to get rid of it because I didn't like it.
But you definitely recommend the first couple of albums, wouldn't you, really?
I think the first 3 albums are great because you got this insane hardcore to this weird country to Talking Headsy psychedelia type thing. It's quite funky as well. And the thing is, some of the instrument playing on the first couple of albums, it's a bit shonky. And then the third album, they're just completely on it, playing incredibly intricate guitar parts and bass lines and playing at insane speeds as well. The thing about American punk is it was more of a an attitude than British punk was like a musical style. You know, in a larger sense, it became codified into 3 chords and you play fast and you play loud. In American punk, you've got on the same record label, you've got Black Flag, you've got the Meat Puppets, you've got Minutemen. You know, they're all hanging out, all playing on the same lineups and things.
It's weird though when you mention those bands that were the bands that were their contemporaries. Really, it's weird that the Meat Puppets perhaps were perhaps one of the least appreciated. I think really out of those, or probably had the least success, I suppose. But they were incredibly original. You know, incredibly original. Perhaps a bit too original for the general taste, I suppose, or even the alternative rock taste.
Yeah, but from what I've read, it seems like the bands on SST records, they all really like the Meat Puppets. I think the Minutemen actually did some Meat Puppets covers on like a later album. And the strange thing is, I've just finished reading a book called Corporate Rock Sucks, The Rise and Fall of SST Records by Jim Ruland. It basically paints a picture of SST Records being run in a kind of egotistical mayhem and bad management that prioritized the releases of instrumental albums by Greg Ginn, not paying artists their royalties or safely storing their master recordings. So all the tapes have basically rotted of all the SST recordings because they stored them badly in extreme temperatures on the West Coast. And Sonic Youth and the Meat Puppets, both of those 2 bands, they sued for their royalties and got the masters back, which is why, probably a long time ago now, Meat Puppets, they reissued quite a lot of their albums on Ryko disc in sort of lightly remastered stuff. But you know, you're not going to get any Husker Du or Minutemen SST albums getting reissued because they don't own the tapes and they've all fallen apart.
Got knackered. There you go. Good stuff. The live album's really good. That's one of my favourites, Live in Montana.
Oh, that is a great album.
The way I describe them, it sounds like, you know how some bands sound like a kind of a jet plane? The Meat Puppets are more like a biplane made out of cardboard, possibly wet cardboard, held together with rubber bands and piloted by these like hyperactive Muppets. So if you fancy listening to that, I'd check it out.
Well, I've read about Missoula for years in outdoor life.
He's a liar.
And
that guy can't sew a stitch.
Mom, so I thought to myself I was buy a guitar and come learn to play the guitar, play around, make money, and buy a horse.
I was talking with your parents the other day.
Some inspiring inter-song banter from the Meat Puppets there.
That is at the end of Automatic Mojo.
Yeah. Anyway, check out the Meat Puppets if you've not really listened to them much before. They're great. If you want to be our friend, you should listen to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, are we at the end of the podcast, Stephen?
I think we are. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the podcast.
Just chill a minute. Okay. So, are we going to include any of these songs in the next volume of the very best of This Are Johnny Domino? It's current volume, volume 2, out now. Check it out. It's good. It sounds good. Yes. But we're working on the next volume. Are we going to include any of these songs in it?
You see, I'd love to include Alive, but I'm not sure if I think possibly the file on that is possibly a little bit too low.
Perhaps a little bit.
But I did enjoy listening to Not My Night.
Yeah, it was better than I thought it was. And I think it did have a bit of a David Lynchian kind of aesthetic to it, you know? And it was good. And we also thank you very much for MJ Hibbert or Mark Hibbert and his band Jane and John for letting us play their song and rip it to pieces critically.
We didn't at all.
I know
we didn't at all.
Oh, did you edit that bit out? Oh my God, Steve.
Oh, no, you're just messing with my brain and the ears of listeners. Anyway, thank you for listening to the ruthless badinage of the This Are Johnny Domino podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast...
Hold on a minute, though, Steve. Just got to stop you there for a minute. I haven't really got an end bit for today. I haven't really got an end bit for today.
So you interrupted me to say that you don't have an end bit. That's a new
Because I
one.
know you'd be hanging if I hadn't interrupted you. You'd be like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've forgotten an bit. Not really. Did you listen to Desert Island Discs with Nick Cave?
No.
Did you not listen to it? It was very good.
No.
It's actually quite good. That's my recommendation. I haven't got any old vinyl or any Christian albums to talk about this week. But yeah, Nick Cave on Desert Island Discs with lovely Lauren. It's quite good, actually, particularly the first bit where he's talking about writing songs. And also I went to Rob's Records again. I'm a big fan of Damaged Records, but I didn't find any obscure things or anything. But I did buy a record. Yay. And it was a classic.
Yes.
Yay. It was Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin. A bona fide classic, right? But then, boo, it's a bit scratched. Yeah, I know, Steve. You're feeling all kind of smug because your attitude about.
I'm not feeling.
Your
smug
attitude about
it.
old records and Rob's records is being confirmed here because I bought a dud record. But and you know which track is actually scratched? The one I bought the album for, which was Chain of Fools, which it's scratched. And I was a bit disappointed about it. But you know what? I've listened to the rest of the album, and the rest of the album is worth £5 of anyone's money. Seriously, So it's an amazing album. So go and listen to that. It's really good. It is perhaps the best music I've ever heard. I'll put it out there.
There you go. You have said it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Please do like and subscribe to our podcast and recommend it to someone who you think might like listening to all this kind of weird shit. Send us some of your old music and enter the eternal halls of the 4-track gods.